All right, hello everyone. Welcome back. We are here finally getting ready to start up the COE 2022 1v1 tournament. We're going to be kicking things off with the first matchup in the bracket. It is Reedkatt on the right, or on the left from your view. Reedkatt on the left, our number 1 seed out of qualifiers, versus Ephix on the right, our number 16 seed out of qualifiers.
Both of these players with relatively similar strengths. They are both Nomad mains, hard rock players, DT, like speedy strengths to them. So for that reason, I would definitely say that our number 1 seed has a big advantage here for this match. However, I mean, with all of the extra variables that basically no one here is used to previous, anything can happen. Someone can get used to it really easy. Someone could like stumble on something you would never expect, which is the exciting part about it.
To boot, these players will also be playing the whole tournament on US Laser rather than traditional US, so that is another layer that we might be dealing with in terms of discomfort for some of the players. But of course, when you are seed number 1, there's always an on-paper advantage. That is what it means to be seed number 1, to be the tournament favorite out of qualifiers. So Reedkatt definitely going to be looking to use that seeding advantage as much as possible in these first few matches of the bracket stage. Both of these players have been on stage warming up and getting ready for quite some time. We made sure their setups were fixed up and ready to go first before we dealt with some other issues on the back end. So we should be just about ready to go now. And both of these players should be more than warmed up enough, ready to go for their matchup. Definitely expecting to see a lot of the nomads get picked up. Definitely expecting to see a lot of the DTs get picked up between these two. And I think we were kind of talking about this before. Maybe the hidden and hard rock pools are probably going to be points of contention. Reedkatt, a very good hard rock player, but not so good of a hidden player. And the opposite actually true for Ephix based on the qualifier results at the very least. Ephix struggling a bit on the hard rocks and qualifiers and having an okay time on the hidden. So I think we'll see probably some of those maps get picked up as well to try and force some easy points out of the other.
Reedkatt, obviously one of the best hard rock players in the world, so I would completely agree with that. I honestly, these matches may be won or lost by these more risky picks, especially from Ephix's standpoint as far as I'm concerned. I think if he wants to win this match, he may need to lean into some things that he might not want to necessarily play, but he's just a little less worse at them than Reedkatt is. I mean, that's what you just got to do sometimes. You have to think outside the box when the odds are stacked against you.
You don't always need to FC your picks in tournament. You just need to make sure you beat the other player. And that's really what we're getting at, is that as long as you can outscore somebody in a tournament, you can still win. And that's a strategy that a lot of people use, picking into the opponent's weakness, even if you might only get 400 or 500k yourself. It's definitely worth trying to pick into that weakness a little bit. And I think we'll probably see quite a bit of that going on during this first match from both of these players, given the nature of how both of them shaped up during the qualifiers. Just waiting on some confirmation that we are indeed fully ready to go for this first match.
Stream is maybe getting some intel on how this Nomad 2 might go for Reedkatt.
Yeah, both players have been warming up on the map pool pretty much all the time they've been up here, playing mostly maps from the map pool, making sure they're good on them as much as possible. We haven't seen a lot of the we haven't seen a ton of the map pool showed off so far, but a lot of these maps are very different from what you'd usually expect, and so I think extra practice on that map pool is definitely going to be a deciding factor in this tournament. I know a lot of players have either completely said, no, I didn't have time to practice at all, or yes, I've been practicing all week long and I'm super prepared for this tournament. So I think a lot of what we see today is probably going to be the product of that practice or lack thereof for some of these players, because when a tournament is held at the end of an event like this, you have to make time to actually get that practice in.
There were some people who I even know of who signed up for the qualifier and then decided to not even end up playing through it because they were prioritizing meeting people here. And at that point, it's to each their own. I feel like if anyone is at this point, they might at least be willing to put a little time into it.
Yeah, we'll have to see exactly how well these players have been able to prioritize doing both of those at the same time. It's very, very difficult at LAN to be able to do both of those. So hoping that both of them are fully prepared for this matchup.
Is there such thing as a tournament match spoiler, by the way? I mean, everyone in this room except Ephix knows how Reedkatt just did on that map.
Well, now we're showing Ephix's PC, so, you know. And we are actually ready to start up the rolls for both of these players. So if we could actually get both of the players to come over, we have a couple of D100 dice on stage here that we're going to be using for them. So we'll get some live rolls ready for both of them. Reedkatt, why don't you come over? We've got D100s ready. Ephix as well, as soon as he is out of that map, I suppose. All right. They are both right down here. You can take either one of them and take your pick. Yeah. Ephix. Willie, can you grab him? We are doing rolls. It is time. We have a D100 here ready for you. All right, 3, 2, 1, roll. Yeah. All right, so Ephix has won the roll, and I believe. All right, Ephix, do you want first pick or first ban? First ban. All right, so that means that Reedkatt gets first pick. Okay. And we will also be doing protect, so you both get to protect one map. Keep it from getting banned and allow it to be picked at any point during the match. So Ephix will get your protect first. What would you like to protect? All right, Ephix chooses Nomad 2 to protect. Reedkatt, your protect? Sorry? Hard Rock 2 for Reedkatt. And I believe that is... I believe we get 2 protects each. So Ephix, your second protect? Nomad 4. Okay, so Nomad 4 and Nomad 2 protected for Ephix, and Reedkatt, your second? Nomad 3 for Reedkatt as well. So Nomad 2 and Nomad 4 for Ephix, and Nomad 3 and Hard Rock 2 for Reedkatt. Ephix, your ban? Hard Rock 3 banned for Ephix, and Reedkatt, your ban. And Hidden 2 banned for Reedkatt. All right. It is time. We finally are underway. Reedkatt, you get first pick as well. What's your pick? Hard Rock 2? All right. First map that he protected, he picks first as well. Hard Rock 2 going to be first pick for Reedkatt. Let's get into the match now. All right. I think...
I didn't join the lobby. I'm not coming before. Yeah, we have to join lobbies.
Yes.
I don't even know how it works on laser.
Yeah. We should have a referee to get invites for you. So hopefully
Someone will get us?
yeah, I believe so. All right, so we heard a couple of other things during that exchange. We know already a couple maps protected for both of these players. Reedkatt protecting that Hard Rock 2 and picking it first, also protecting Nomad 3. This is the alt map in Nomad that he wanted to keep open. Reedkatt, a very, very good alt player, should be able to take pretty solid advantage of that. Ephix as well, protecting that Nomad 2 and Nomad 4. Bans as well, pretty predictable. The Hard Rock 3 and the Hidden 2 getting banned out. Unfortunate, Woey. Unfortunate, but I think good bans from both of these players and good protects as well. Probably along the lines of what we were thinking would happen.
Definitely similar to our gut checks. These players do not want to do what they're uncomfortable with. They're protecting all of the Nomads, which they are very comfortable with, and we might see some very contested picks for that reason.
And of course, starting off with Hard Rock 2 for Reedkatt, a very predictable first pick after the initial protect. And, I think a strong way to start out. Reedkatt, a very, very good precision player back before he was the all-rounder beast that he is right now, who's known for being, one of the best 1v1 tournament players around. He started out as a precision Hard Rock player, primarily in tournaments. So this is back to his roots once again with this pick. And generally, this map is kind of demon for precision. The Hard Rock 2 that we're about to see, we can talk about that a little bit. Mapped by Half Slashed, currently sitting in the audience over there. CS7 or so. A little bit reminiscent of Desire Drive, in my opinion.
Yes, Half Slash maps are a staple of tournaments at this point, and they are very awkward. They are very often pretty slow, and the difficulty comes more from micro movements and more from big spacing jumps rather than fast jumps.
And I believe we actually have both of these players already in the lobby. We should be able to get started in just a moment. I think we're working on setting up the overlay, making sure that everything is ready to go before we get started and into the first map. A couple of really rough patterns in this Hard Rock 2 that we should be seeing soon. In particular, there's a lot of really nasty streams near the end of this map. Lots of Axel decel going on there. There's these triples that you have to wiggle. So wiggle triples, but that are just straight back and forth, that are all very, very difficult when it's set close to CS7. So the better precision player is usually favored on this, especially on a map this slow. That higher approach rate from Hard Rock is not to be underestimated. It does make things a bit more difficult than it otherwise would be for most players.
And I must say, as a general statement, every map in this pool is to the difficulty where essentially any FCs we see on this stage would be something to remember. They are very hard. I think they will be hard to come by. So anyone who even gets close, it would be a sight to behold. And I do believe we're about to get into our first map.
Yes, I'm not sure why we have Wind God Girl for now. First pick was the Hard Rock 2. But it seems like both players were not readied up at the moment, and so we actually have some technical issues there. Reedkatt is currently still in the map while Ephix never started it, so readying up, working very differently in Osu Laser compared to Os Stable. Another thing that we're going to deal with, I think, more than a couple times during the course of this tournament. All right, and now we should be able to get into Wind God Girl. Looking at apparently Ephix's first pick rather than Reedkatt's for this one, we're going to be getting into Wind God Girl, one of the maps that Ephix protected as well, and the stream map in No Mod. Definitely a little bit of a different sort of stream map from what you usually see, though. Wowie, do you want to touch on that as we get into some of these opening streams?
Right, so many No Mod 2s, as of recent in tournaments, are very standard spacing. They rely more on raw mechanics than they do any sort of, I guess, specific skill like flair. But this No Mod 2 is not the same at all. It's got spacing alterations, I guess, all over the place. Very brutal spacing spikes as opposed to overall difficulty. It's a very difficult map overall to manage, even if you are a stream player. That being said, Reedkatt's kind of just eating it alive right now, off to an early lead, both in combo and accuracy. Put Reedkatt on blue instead, but yeah, note that right now, even after that break, this is still a massive lead for Reedkatt, 100,000 score up, and with Ephix not having combo to capitalize on any of these misses, it's looking to stay that way on this map. Just to be clear, this was Ephix's pick?
Yes, this was Ephix's first pick.
That's not a good start.
No, not in particular, but this is probably a toss-up map. Both of these players very, very good at the space streams in general. Reedkatt, of course, one of the best space stream players that there is right now, including at higher BPM. And so some of the streams that you see in this map aren't going to be too challenging for them, but the raw spacing in this map and the way that a lot of the streams change their direction is very, very difficult.
And there were also bits in that chorus where streams went around and then they stopped and there was a single tap afterward at the end of them. And it's actually, if you're like kind of cracking under the pressure or over streaming through that, you can just note lock that note and miss it. So there's definitely a very brutal element of control to this map as well.
In the meantime, while we've been talking about this map, we have seen Reedkatt accrue a massive combo at this point. 470, 480 combo now, which is looking very, very good in the back half of this map. The very high spacing near the end of this map is so difficult to deal with. So the fact that he's been able to keep this combo together in spite of that, it bodes very, very well for the rest of the match for him, especially, of course, this is going to be a break point on Ephix's first pick. So very, very solid start to the match for Reedkatt. Definitely making use of that difference in seeding that we were talking about at the start of this match. Reedkatt, the #1 seed, taking that first pick without too much difficulty. 600K to 420, 430K at the end of the map.
And this is kind of the difficult thing to, like, almost a trap to fall into if your opponent has a similar skill set to you. If you're picking that into them, it's kind of betting on you, like, just doing better in the moment as opposed to maybe betting on a skill set that you might, like, surprise yourself with, I guess, that, oh, maybe I am better than this player than I thought I was.
Yeah, and unfortunately, sometimes that just doesn't work out. You need to pick into more of your opponent's weakness instead of your own strength sometimes. And that was something that we were talking about at the start of this, looking to see maybe picks into hidden from Ephix just because of the fact that, you know, he had solid scores on hidden during the qualifier round. And of course, we all know Reedkatt, as a tournament player, just does not like hidden. So definitely always a good thing to pick into him. And there's that Hard Rock 2 that we were talking about earlier. Reedkatt going with that as his own first pick as well. No surprises there. You can see the bans on the screen as well. Hidden 2 banned out by Reedkatt, and Hard Rock 3 banned out by Ephix, so that early first pick into Wind God Girl and now first pick into Hard Rock 2 boding very well for Reedkatt at the start of this match. Hopefully we'll be able to get the clients displayed up here in a moment. At the moment we've just got this green screen, so hopefully that gets fixed in a moment. Neither player is in the map right now though, so we're not really missing anything. We'll make sure we get their clients put up there before we get started.
Don't want to miss a thing.
No. I think we've already beat this map to death talking about it before the start of the match, so not too much else to say about this one. When we do get into this match, Roy, where do you expect to see misses on this map? More on some of the larger jumps in the map, or some of the aim controls, some of the streams in this one?
I would expect it more on the sort of micro movements in those triples and those quins, personally, but we will see. Because, let's be honest, you can miss anywhere in this map unless you are at the peak of this skill set.
Well, Reedkatt's certainly one of the best precision hard rock players there is in the tournament scene right now. If you're looking at anybody who's at the peak of the skill set, he has to be in the conversation for it. So I'm looking forward to a good score from him. Hopefully we'll be able to see that on this map. Okay, so hopefully we'll get an abort at this point. He has no audio. Reedkatt has no audio. Abort, please. So apparently we started without hard rock, so we'll get that mod on first and then be able to move forward with it once again. And bear with us as we go through this process, by the way. This is a very new process, running a tournament out of laser, even for us. We are still trying to figure out the kinks and make sure that it runs as well as possible. So we will have some issues like this throughout the tournament. Bear with us as we get used to them and figure out the client, make sure that everything is good to go before we really start up the map.
This is new territory for everyone involved.
All right, there we go. Hard Rock should be on the map at this point. We should be good to go. And hopefully we'll be getting into our second map now. We talked about a lot of the micro movement in this map, those back and forth triples, a lot of the really rough accel, decel, wiggle streams in this map. So a lot of really tough patterns for anybody to miss on in this pick. We'll see how both these players handle it.
I would also like to add that compared to Nomad 2, the accuracies I would expect to be a bit lower on average comparatively. I mean, we'll see. Maybe these players will surprise me. I would love to see it, but I would expect generally like 94s, 95, 96s. This map is brutal.
And you can already see the difference in comfort on the mod, comfort on the map coming out. Reedkatt with 95, 96% accuracy, you called it there. But Ephix starting out with relatively rough accuracy. There's a really tough pattern right at the start of the map, so understandable to drop back on that, and he'll probably slowly get his ACK back up over the course of the map.
This is also, I would say, the kind of skill set that is very brutal to adjust to in an unfamiliar setting. Like precision, the big cross-screen jumps, very brutal, unless you can just jump from setup to setup like it's nothing.
It seems that way for Reedkatt. Looks like he's still holding the full combo right now. 96% accuracy. Finally drops a miss, but during one of the hard parts as well.
Double the score as Ephix. Less than a third of the way into the map. I'm no laser expert, but I do get the impression that V2 or whatever the score system is, it works different on here as it is on the, as it does. Because it doesn't seem like, because with score V2, if you chain miss, you do lose score, but I haven't seen that happen yet for any brutal act drops or chain misses. Would you know about that?
I believe we are still on score V2 for this tournament, actually, so I don't think there should be too many major differences between standard and laser in terms of the use of score V2. But yeah, there's definitely a couple of differences. The main one, I can see it as well, score not going down as players miss. So definitely a couple of slight changes, but I think it's overall the same. You're still looking at around, the expected score V2 endpoint for Reedkatt here, 350, 400K by the end of the map, given the combos that he's had throughout. And well, you can see why he protected this map, right? This is a very good pick for him. It's gone all according to plan for Reedkatt on this map, and he's going to start off 2-0. First seed looking good out of the gate.
Through this ending, no one has combo. Reedkatt just barely getting back into the 3-digit territory. I mean, he got that lead early, and it has not grown. These players are doing their best, and it is hardly enough. A little bit of a slower section right now. Hopefully players can gather themselves a little bit before the crescendo of this map.
Yeah, the real ending here at the end, definitely easier than the climax of the song that we just saw, but still a couple difficult patterns here at the end.
So yeah, that lead that Reedkatt built from that initial, I think it was like a 600 combo, is just the deficit that remains here, about 150,000. And that's 2-0.
So a very solid start to the match for Reedkatt. Ephix looking maybe to change strategies in terms of the picks. We talked about maybe picking into some of those hiddens, picking either the hidden 1 or hidden 3. Those are a little bit tricky, I think, for Ephix, just because of the type of map that they are. Reedkatt, a very good ult player, very good stream aim player. So it does beg the question of whether Ephix has the stream aim to compete on those picks, even though they are on hidden.
And it is the protected pick, the Nomad 4, that will be selected.
So going with both protected picks right out the bed, or right out the gate for Ephix, excuse me. This map also a very, very stream aim focused pick, actually. For most Nomad 4s, especially in 2022, you expect them to be a lot more focused on slider aim. This one, tons of cut streams that double back on themselves, lots of really wonky, super high spacing streams, lots of linear streams as well. So very, very difficult to keep combo together on a map like this, and very easy to chain miss as well.
I think there is a bunch of, there's enough sort of gimmicky maps in the rest of this pool that this Nomad 4 can get away with being a bit more stream focused, a bit more mechanics focused. But I mean, I do question it. I don't think Ephix has anything to lose picking something that might be a little more risky than this. But this was the protected pick, so he's going with his plan. And we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, not losing confidence after the first couple of picks for Ephix, sticking with what he intended from the start. His 2 protected picks are his first 2 picks, which usually a pretty good plan for most players. We'll see if it works out for him this time around. A couple of early misses on this map. Does find a couple of resets here. You can see why the streams in this part of the map are demonic, with how the spacing changes, how the cuts flow from one stream to another, and how you have a lot of stop and go streams, two notes that are basically in the same spot in the middle of a stream compared to high spacing through the rest of it. Reedkatt, meanwhile, having a much better time of the score, but still finding resets over and over through the rest of the map. So it's not out of reach for Ephix, even with that score deficit built up at the start.
Reed held 99% through a shocking amount of this section, still holding 98, which is extremely impressive and should hold a lot of water compared to Ephix's 93.
Both players able to build up some combo during that section, now into a slower part in the middle of the map. This is where we start to see a little bit of a switch in terms of the style of mapping from a lot of that stream aim that we saw before. Oh, and that's an unfortunate miss for Ephix right there.
But the lead for Reedkatt is not as huge. He was able to pull away through those first two maps, whereas I think this one, I mean, that break is not helping Ephix, but I would say that he's still kind of in striking distance if Reed happens to make another mistake. But as of right now, it's not coming. Reed's kind of just chilling through this section, almost at 400 combo now, and there it goes. But the lead has grown immensely. I would be hard-pressed to see this come back with a third of the map to go.
Yeah, 120,000, and we are into almost the last section of the map. This more space double focused part of the map is right before the ending, and so there's just not that much time left for Ephix to try and pull this back, and even if there were, he unfortunately just doesn't have the combo to pull it through. And so this is looking to be a third win in a row for Reedkatt. Very, very solid all-rounder for Reedkatt, and that's why you find players like him in the higher seeding spots of 1v1 tournaments like this.
Yeah, even if you try to pick into something they're weak at, they may not be very weak at it. And this one is all over but the crying. This is going to be a third point for Reedkatt. One more to get to match point. And there it is.
Overall, a pretty solid score for Ephix, though. I mean, 360k on that map is not bad at all. It's so hard to keep consistent combo on maps like that where you have so much to deal with all throughout the map. So a commendable score from him, but unfortunately Reedkatt just too good on the map, too good on the day, and Ephix not able to capitalize on the protected picks from the start.
Yeah. So what do you expect Reedkatt to pick next year, Hard Rock or Hard Rock?
I think Hard Rock is a pretty good bet.
Good deal. Good deal.
There is still Nomad 3 up as well, and that was his second protected pick. He could leave it as a third pick and go for that Hard Rock 1 you were mentioning, but I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him just pick into that Nomad 3. It's a very snap aim focused map with a lot of, I don't even know the timing signature. I think they're 1/6 streams. I tried to look at it in the editor and couldn't find the timing for it.
It is anything but a traditional song choice. And I mean, if anyone who knows OLC can fully expect that from him, right? A very peculiar song choice mapper. Woo! DT2! Thank you, Reed!
Well, he gets to cast his own map. It's double time too. All right, tell us what the map is, Wowie.
Okay, so this map is 225 BPM, 3 minutes of absolutely no breaks. Filled with longer streams, some triple sections, some double sections, some slider streams as well, sprinkled in there, just to add a little extra spice, something extra for these players to handle. I do think this is a strong pick for Reedkatt. 225, nothing wrong with it for him. Is he still trying to go for a Yomiuri FC, or?
He was at one point. I don't know if he still is, but after the bounty got claimed and all. But I know he was for quite some time and had a lot of really high leaderboard scores on it. So you're right, this BPM not going to be a problem for him. Of course, could have also picked it for the song. Probably the best song in the pool.
I would
so.
sure hope so.
One thing about this pick, though, for Reedkatt is that this is not necessarily a bad map for Ephix. He does have a lot of scores that are DT or are speedy maps in his top plays. He's not necessarily as strong in tournaments on this type of map, but he has the potential to pop off, and you're seeing that in the well, no longer in the combo, unfortunately. Poor timing on that one. But yeah, you're seeing the comfort and the accuracy for Reedkatt right now, for sure. 94, 95% for him, and 88, 89 for Ephix. Tells a story all its own, despite the high combo we saw from Ephix earlier into the map.
Yeah, and the reason this doesn't necessarily bode well for Ephix, on top of the lead that Reedkatt has already built, that the way this map progresses in difficulty is that you can easily fall off it. It gets gradually harder as it goes, with the end being the hardest. So if you're not comfortable with it at the start, you're probably not going to be comfortable with it in the second half. And for that reason, I would expect this to kind of go how the last 3 maps have as well. Reed has the lead now. It might not do anything but accelerate, because here comes the percussion part. Doubles in here, quints, you name it. It just does not stop.
Yeah, this map also has some kind of really funky parts with sliders as well. A lot of slider streams, a lot of transitions with some buzz sliders as well, which does make it a little bit trickier than your average DT2, especially being AR 10.1 instead of AR 9.67, so a little bit high approach rate for some players as well. Probably not an issue for these two, but you're certainly, again, still seeing a massive difference in comfort, especially, you mentioned, Willie, as the map goes on, it gets harder, and that accuracy for Ephix is falling further and further down into the low 80s now as Reedkatt stays pretty static at 94, 95.
And a 700 combo through one of the hardest streams of the map, it just falls. But the score is over double Ephix's. This is the most brutal victory that he's had this whole match. It's all over but the crying now.
Yeah, this is already said and done. It's going to be 4-0 for Reedkatt at the end of this one, and he is looking very, very good at the start of this tournament. A lot of these maps, again, you're not expecting full combos. This is a very hard map pool, close to 8 stars for a lot of these maps, so being able to put up even 600-700K on a lot of these maps is extremely solid in terms of the overall score that you can get on them. And Reedkatt already doing that on a variety of different types of picks, looking super solid.
So this is now match point 4-0, just to be official about it. And I keep having it in mind that Ephix, I mean, he's truly got nothing to lose now. I mean, I could understand not wanting to take a more risky pick at 0-0, but at 4-0, what have you got to lose?
Nothing at all. He goes for no mod 1. And honestly, I can see why. Ephix had very good scores on the AIM maps in the qualifiers. He had a very good score on no mod 1 in particular in the qualifiers. So this is not a totally unexpected pick from Ephix, sticking with the no mod, sticking with the raw mechanics, and sticking with the basics, going with our rather awkward no mod 1 for this map pool. A lot of wide angle jumps all over the place in this map. All said and done, not quite as awkward as I think it looks, but definitely does have a lot of those wide angle jumps that most players find very difficult to execute compared to, you know, your standard acute angle farm jumps.
Listen, if you ask for a map from Alice, you're not getting something normal. It's gonna have at least a little quirkiness to it. But that being said, this map does not take any time to get started, right into big jumps. Neither player, or no, just kidding, Reedkatt is SSing through the intro. That is exciting. We'll see how long that can last.
Not very long. This map's pretty hard. This is pretty close to 8 stars, 7.8 stars or so. So anybody who can keep a good combo together through this map is a very, very good aim player. We already see a couple of breaks come through for both of these players, actually. Both Ephix and Reedkatt starting out with a few misses of their own. Ephix just now breaking that 100k mark going into the first PI time here. You start to get some of those wide angle jumps in these PI times, and you start to get a lot of the kind of pattern aim as well as slider aim during
Very
these parts.
big sliders across these choruses, like not even through a specific part of the song, they're just all throughout, which kind of plays to the fact that this map, none of these maps are really one thing.
No.
They've each got a little bit of some extra something to them. So being good at one thing is not good enough, even if you're extremely good at that one thing.
You can actually see the lead shrinking a little bit. It was a little wider at the start of the map, but Reedkatt slowing down and Ephix having a little bit of a better time during the PIs, it looks like, for this map. We'll see if he can start to close that gap a little bit. Reedkatt does have a combo advantage at the moment by about 60-70 combo, so that score lead is going to slowly increase, but he finds a reset during that PI time, and Ephix follows it up.
Osu event slider! Oh, and Ephix gets slow slide, not slow slided by it, more like 2 beat on it.
Yeah. Looks like neither player sight reading this section. This part a little bit tricky if you are sight reading it. Unfortunately, Ephix finding an over aim during that part as well, and that I think seals it up a little bit. It's closer, actually, the score lead. 300k to 270k right now is the closest the map has been so far in this match at this point. If Ephix can hold it through the stream section right now, he has a very good chance of taking this.
A tiny little combo lead goes to Ephix through that guitar solo, and Reed does miss some more. This is not impossible. This is definitely the closest the pick has been this far into the map. But I'm not sure if the lead is shrinking fast enough though for him, because this section is very brutal and neither player has combo, and the ACK lead is still massively in Reedkatt's favor. And if there's anything that's going to bring him home, it's absolutely that.
And they're through the hardest part of the map at this point, I believe. That last PI time is really the most brutal section, so any combo lead should have been accrued during that part of the map, and there's just, I don't think, not enough combo lead for Ephix to bring this back. It's going to be the 5-0 for Reedkatt, taking down his first opponent in a full sweep.
Ephix certainly not performing poorly, especially considering the environment. It's unlike anything basically any Osu player ever has to deal with. But I mean, the #1 seed in the tournament. Anyone going up against Reedkatt, I think, could have a pretty hard time this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. You get #1 seed for a reason. It is very difficult to take down that #1 seed, especially in the first round. And unfortunately for Ephix, he was given a tough matchup as seed #16. Had a lot of really solid maps as well, especially that last one on Nomad 1. Had a very, very good time on that map, but just not quite good enough to take down Reedkatt and to get any points in that match. So unfortunately, we'll be exiting this one in the first round. Reedkatt, however, advances into the quarterfinals and will face off, I believe, against the winner of our next matchup, either seed 8 or seed 9. Not sure if it's possible to get the bracket displayed, but I know that next matchup should be Arge versus Blue. Oomphy McDonald versus Blue James.
That is correct.
We'll see how quick we can get both of those players up here. We'll ask you all to stay tuned. In the meantime, when we start back up, we'll have 2 more players on stage, and we'll be getting into our second matchup of the tournament with those 2. In the meantime, check out the rest of the event, and we'll see you back here at the 1v1 tournament.